Good morning, YouTubes. Time for the recap. So, if you follow our X, or you're in my chat, or whatever you're in, you would have seen a little choppy long, but I hit my targets yesterday for the pre-market and watch the open short for NQ in the Discord around 6:30 a.m. Central Time. Told you guys it would scam up to the 3618 at least, and then we were going to look for underneath for a full gap fill and down on NQ, calling 125 points in the pre-market before it happened. I did release a video right here on the X exactly for the prediction ahead of time. I entered these shorts and put my delusional short to work around 24,050. Took a big profit. You can see the trades right here. And all the way back down for another 10 NQ down for 100 some points. One of the largest trades of my career on the small and big account. $1,100 or 1050 on 5 micros, and we use the big cash account, and these are NQ. So very, very, very large. And let's explain some small pieces of why. So the CPI, and you know me, Fibonacci, with algorithm instant candles in between here. No golden pocket tags on those 5 minutes, okay? That was the top, right? And really, it's this simple with Fibonacci. No other indicator matters, not liquidity sweeps, not fair value gaps. Fibonacci is not an indicator. It's a way of life and the universal mathematics of the simulation we live in. Learn it. So as it came back up, I'll go over 2 instances here. 24,000, obviously huge psychological number. We said that was going to be the squeeze point in my chat. If you go back in the Discord for our guys, you'll see it. We said this was going to be a very good consolidation point here for the squeeze scam up. Well, why did we say it was going higher? Well, let's take a peek at the CPI. We have 1 and 5 minute high-low CPIs here, and those netted us our extensions, right? So we had that big push down here and then rocket launch up, right, on the force up on the CPI, but it wasn't done yet because we had Fibonacci. So what happens is when these extensions force back here past all the way up to these Fibonacci points, they use the next day extensions as support resistance, which means the CPI here, right? Then we move over to Wednesday, right? Now, the CPI Fibonacci is going to use this as support for the next day or a magnet. So when they were created here on CPI day, this is where it splits the day, we know that the 2618, right, from the CPI was going to be a possible support and or over under. You see the open right here, ding, 2618, and where's my magnets usually? Ding, 3618. Now, we had a very tight consolidation, and we had some choice words for the market right here during the 24K squeeze, manipulation push coming because we had further extensions. But we knew this was going to happen ahead of time, and that's why we called it because of the Qs. So we're going to move over to the Qs real quick here for the same exact marker. Now, when the ETFs open, I don't worry about the futures as much because it's not live tag. And what I mean by that is the pre-market session of the QQQ does not reflect first tag in live trading. You need to be during the live trading hours to actually hit the algorithms. So if you see NQ do something, it can actually repeat that because the Qs has to do something. This is how we trade our futures here in my group. We don't even look at the future start 90% of the time unless there's an algo disposition that we need to take on. So right here again, you're going to see the 5 minute high low, and you're going to see that full reverse and then all the extensions. Now, those extensions led us to believe that we had a massive over under. And this is what I posted in chat. We need a live tag. So we had 2 different markers here that needed live tags at the open, and NQ ripped past that 3618 or QQQ, right past the 3618, right to the 423. And then after that, that is when we had called the next day breakdown, right? So once we failed, now just again, it's all dedicated to this CPI, 1618, 2618, 3, 4. Once a Fibonacci is completed, especially from something like CPI, it will retrace. And what did it do? It gave us a golden perfect algorithm right here in the morning. And what do you know? Overlapping Fibonacci, the only indicator you need. So it pushed up from the algo here, ding, into the 423. So I shorted all the lower high structures as we had posted in my chat, snap, lower high on the 5 minute as we called, and straight down. what was the other catalyst besides Fibs? Again, we didn't really need much because I called 125 points. We held it all the way down in Q. But what was the other catalyst? Well, my favorite is the VIX, because without MACD and RSI, I'd be lost. Those are the best indicators you could possibly use. Oh, they lag. Yeah, that's the point. If you know how to use the lag, that's the point. But most people, they're not equipped to actually use them properly. They don't understand. So we let those people go. They don't know anything about the basics of the indicator. So the volatility index is the last key to the pie on how I called the 125 down. Well, it was like 100, but watch the last video, explains way more. I just wanted to touch on this because I don't think I got to. So yesterday's lows on the VIX for that current day, we washed out all day. And then I said, okay, well, if we go past the gap open, so if you notice right here, the VIX shuts down, right? And we have this gap. Here's the tick right here. Here's the open. Tick, close, open. There's a gap right there, right? And I said, well, once it pushes past the gap, right, we're going to head to, we had a huge cluster of GPs. And more importantly, I said 1466 and the 100 EMA chase would be the break because of the algos, right? And of course, novice traders, you can't do TA on the VIX. Okay. You can't do TA on the VIX. You can't pick tops. I can. So when it came down to here, I said right back to yesterday's lows because there was absolutely no reason for a VIX gap down because of the catalyst in the news that we were seeing. So on the daily chart here, the open was going to push to the lows after the drop session in the morning because of the Fibonacci. So the entire thing was waiting for VIX to find support, aka waiting for QQQ and SPY to come into the huge resistance. And that's it. It's literally just overlapping Fibonacci and using the oscillation indicators, the ones that, oh, they lag, nobody works. Okay. Easily matched up with HOTS, easily matched up with Fibonacci overlay. You technically don't need the oscillation as much as you think you do. Really great visuals, though. And I could tell right here by the lower waves on the MACD that we were getting exhausted right into the resistance that we had hoped for anyway. And then once the RSI breaks our 50 point, because this is one of our biggest trend dominant indicators that tells us exactly what we need to know. Once we lost the top 50, so once you travel under the 50, notice the RSI is now on the bottom. Continuation metrics are key. And then, of course, underneath the zero. If you want to learn how to use the RSI, the MACD, and the lagging indicators, we do have the indicators we use section on this YouTube to help you out. So rejection here came down to the golden pocket, and I even called that this would not bounce. And I'm not going to get into why. If you can figure it out from the last video, there's a really big algo secret I let out on last video. That's part of the big course. If you find it, comment if you think. I'll tell you if you're right. Because it's about the target in the fibs. So it's a huge 100% guaranteed magnet that I still use in my algo system that's only coming out in the course. That happened yesterday. Once a year you see this. So we went heavy. All right, guys, if you want to trade with us live every single morning and watch our Discord and how we teach you how to trade this stuff. I do not hand out trades. This is not an alert service. If you need me to chew your food and spit it into your mouth, don't join. This is for people that actually want to know how to do this and figure out how I call this stuff hours in advance. Okay? If you're looking for an alert service, I paid you $100. You need to make me rich. Please don't join. That is a loser mentality. We don't like losers. So as we come into the Discord even this morning, small example here, I broke it down long to 64.97. That's a trade call. Yeah, kind of. Well, don't expect them all the time. That's not what I teach. So we had another algo right here, 3618 recycle. We called an easy 4 points up on the ES because of a gap. Again, calling in the Discord. It's not an alert service. Do not join here if you think I'm just going to spoon feed you trades. I'm teaching. Okay? Shows all of our trades here this morning. All targets hit. Easy peasy. So we had another 3 trade calls this morning here that worked out. And again, I say trade calls lightly. These are more learning experiences. Links in the description to join up. You want to win some free money? Make sure you're subscribed, like the video, drop a comment, and you're automatically entered. And I will pick a random winner just to give cash out just for supporting the channel. All right, we'll see you guys on the next.